Hi, Jim.
Hi, Emily. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
That's good.
So, today I have a few questions for you about you and your driving abilities.
Why do you want to talk about driving ability, Emily? Come on.
Because I'm clearly the better driver here.
Okay. How long have I been driving?
Who knows? That's what I want to know.
You want to know?
Yeah. So, when did you realize that you could drive, and how did you learn to drive?
So, I always knew I could drive just by watching my father and my mother drive. They were using their hands on the steering wheel. I knew that I could use my one hand, my left hand on the steering wheel without any problem. The foot stuff, it was like brake and gas. I mean, how hard can that be, right? And, we had these big old 60s American Fords, right? And piece of cake to drive, right? So back in the day, my parents had a 66 Galaxy 500 convertible.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Charlottetown.
Man.
And my parents we were camping. And my father was traveling someplace, and my mother said, well, let's take the car out, because I've been pestering her, because we were camping, we were out in a big field, and he said, let's see if I can drive.
Mm-hmm.
So she took me on the farmer's field, and nothing around, no trees, no fence, no nothing. And I started driving.
Yeah.
It was great.
And this was manual.
This is an automatic.
This was automatic.
Old school automatic. Yeah.
So, can you drive manual?
Yes, I can.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So when was the first time you drove manual?
The first time I drove a manual was Sheila and I bought for $150 a Datsun B510. So it was a four-door wagon. We bought it from Lena and Jerry's Galleon in Halifax.
No kidding.
And no, I'm not kidding. I don't kid. And it was a 5-speed. And I was able to first, second, fourth, and reverse with one hand. I could do third and fifth with two hands, but of course, to do two hands, you have to take two hands off the steering wheel. So I could do one, two, four, and reverse. Stop. When you're in reverse, to go to reverse, you're stopped, so you can have two hands. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's no big deal. But then when Sheila and I were driving together, I would just shout out a number. We'd be talking in the middle of sentences. I'd say 2. And Sheila would take her left hand and go to 2 or whatever I would shout out, and then that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the Datsun. And then from there on, it didn't matter if I got a standard or a manual. Sometimes the standards needed to be adjusted, so the gear shifts would be a little bit higher. So we would adjust the gear shift up a little bit or move it over. The best adjustment we ever had was when we bought a brand new 1980 Honda, maybe it was 1980, 82. It was a 1982 Honda Civic from a dealer. Emily just noticed that my glasses had a big glare on it, and as the producer, she felt really badly. I saw this look on her face, and I said, "What, Emily? Don't stop it. Are you stopping it?
No.
Don't stop it." So I took my glasses off, so you'll now notice that my glasses off. The more perspicacious of you will notice that my glasses are off. And if I start looking like I don't know what I'm looking at, that's why it is. Anyway, so the Honda dealer made a big deal of really doing a good welding job of a new gear shift. So he welded it in such a way that you couldn't even tell, and he spray painted it black. Looked really good. So yes, I can drive a standard.
Nice. So at what age did you get your driver's license, and in what province?
I got my driver's license in Charlottetown. I was, I think, 17.
Mm-hmm.
I went to driver education at school, and the tester, the driver education was easy. That was pretty straightforward. Steve Connolly was the French teacher, and he was the driver education teacher. The teacher showed up. The instructor showed up, not the instructor, the tester showed up to do the test, and he wanted to use his car, but I said, well, I have my own car, and it's kind of my car, so let's go in my car, right? So he said, fine, we'll go in your car. So at the end of it, he said, I'm only giving you 95%. And I said, why? Only 95%. He said, well, you didn't adjust the seat or the mirror. And I said, it's my car. Of course it's adjusted. What's your problem, right? He said, I don't give out 100%.
Oh.
Loser.
So what did you need to pass the test? Like 80
Oh,
or?
a lot less than that.
It's probably 80 or
Yeah,
70
a lot
or
of
something.
people who shouldn't have been driving who were driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So anyone who knows you knows that you lived in Guadalupe for ages and ages.
Yeah.
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 So how was driving
Yeah,
there?
French driving is fun. Nobody pays any attention to the speed limits. Nobody pays any attention to anything. It was a mountainous town. It was hilly and circuitous and like a racetrack everywhere. We bought another Honda Civic, sport model of a two-door Honda Civic.
Ooh, yeah.
And the French people back then didn't have anti-pollution stuff on their car. So it was pretty fast car.
Nice.
Really fast car. 1.6 motor, no anti-pollution, 5-speed, Pirelli tires. It was nice. One time I was driving along and there was a regular police check, as they did there. And the cop pulled me over and I had a friend with me. And the cop says to your friend, as I get out to get my driver's license, which we kept in the trunk inside the tail light, because you never locked your car, it was too hot. So you just kept your papers in someplace safe. And the guy said to Lewis, can he drive? And Lewis said, it looks like it. Anyway, that was fine. The guy just looked at the license and that was fine. But when we came back to Canada, I still had a valid Ontario's driver's license. And when we went to Ontario, we were living in Quebec, and I went to get my driver's license updated, and the guy behind the counter said, you have to fill in this form. And I looked at it and it was a disabled person's declaration. And I said, well, why do I have to fill that out? And he said, well, you're disabled. And I said, well, who are you to say I'm disabled? Right? And he said, well, I'm disabled. And I said, well, I don't care if you're disabled. You're the one who's saying it. Right? Who are you to say I'm disabled? And he says, well, look at you. And he says, if you want to drive, you have to do this. And I said, my driver's license doesn't have any limitations on it. It's from Ontario. He said, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I had to go through this horrendous process to get my driver's license. It was ridiculous, just stupidly insane. I had to go get a doctor saying that I was fit to drive, and the doctor didn't want to do it. He didn't want to sign the paper.
Oh, geez.
Right? So I jumped up over the desk and I shouted right in his face, how long have you been driving? How many accidents have you had? You know, I've been driving since I was 16. I've never had an accident. Sign the goddamn paper. I said that in French.
Right.
And he got intimidated and signed the paper. And then I had to go to have a test with an occupational therapist to see if I could drive. Once the doctor said I should be okay to drive. Once he acquiesced, not so radiantly, acquiesced.
Yeah.
The occupational therapist started asking me all kinds of questions. You know, can you sit up? I'm going to try to push you over. Can you get up? And all this kind of stuff. And I said, listen, why don't we just go for a drive? This is just about if I can drive. It's not about whether I can get up. And at that point, I was driving a 5-speed. And we went for a drive. This was Quebec City. And she didn't notice I was only using first, second, and fourth. I wasn't using third and fifth. She didn't notice. Went out on the highway. She came back and said, you can drive really well. What's the problem with this? And I said, exactly. Right? So she signed the papers. A couple of years later, I was teaching English in Quebec. And I ended up teaching English to the director of the group responsible for driver's licensing. And I told him this whole story, and he got really, really upset. And he went in and made the first guy apologize in writing to me. And he
The
made
disabled guy.
The disabled guy,
Yeah.
because it was not his business, period. Right? And he also had another person whom I was trying to communicate with about this issue, who was writing me letters, who was not responding to my letters. And when I called them, he said, this person doesn't have any public authority. But I said, he's sending emails. Let me talk to the guy. You can't speak to him. So that guy sent me a letter of apology as well.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool.
Do you still have all these apology letters?
I don't.
That's
That
too
would have been
bad.
too smart. When we moved from Quebec to Ontario, we had a fire. In a
Oh,
moving van, and it was all destroyed.
that's too
That
bad.
would have been good. Yeah. Anyway, so that's some of my driving stories.
So what are you driving now?
Driving right now, Honda Insight,
How do you like it?
like a
Nice.
hybrid
Nice.
Honda.
Yeah.
Not exactly Honda, man. I've had, first car was the Galaxy, second one was the Galaxy 64, and then we had a Cortina. It was a piece of crap. Had a Forenza. That was a car that caught on fire all the time. Had that Datsun. Had an AMC Hornet.
Mm.
Oh, what a piece of crap! It was such a piece of crap. And then we had our first of 3 Rabbits. We had a 74 Rabbit, yellow, beautiful, with a carburetor. We had a 76 two-door Rabbit, red. And then we had a 76 four-door diesel, belonged to William Sears.
Oh
That's a
yeah.
whole other story. What did we have after that? Oh, then we had the Mazda 323. Then we had the Honda Civic, the first one. Went to Guadalupe, got a Honda Civic, came back to Canada, got the Nissan Stanza. That was a crazy car. Then we had the Multi. Then we had the Geo Metro. We had a Honda Accord. After a Honda Accord. Wait, Honda Accord. Oh yeah, Honda Accord. We had the Mercury Villager,
Mm-hmm.
the the Impreza, and then we moved here, and we bought the Toyota Yaris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the blue Yaris, and then we bought the Honda Insight.
So that's your third Honda.
That's my car history.
Car history.
There you go.
Nice.
Anything else?
What's your next car?
I haven't had an accident in all that time. No accidents.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good, eh?
Yeah, 10 points.
Yeah, I even drove in Australia on the wrong side of the road for a couple of weeks. Well, at least on their side of the road. What's my next car?
Yeah.
It was going to be, we were very close to buying a Nero plug-in hybrid, but that went sideways because of a whole bunch of crazy things in terms of buying a car just before the new year. So we ended up not getting it because the price went up $4,000 when the 2020 models came in. So the next car is probably going to be all electric, if I had to guess. That's it.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, rock and roll.
We'll see you next time.
Cheers.